film company Rakurs presents, ordered by the Tajikistan Association of Soviet Koreans. The Korean Man. There are two main dates celebrated by any Korean during his lifetime. These are his 1st and 60th birthdays. Today, Sasha's having his first great holiday in his life. A year ago, he was born here in the land of Tajikistan. For the first time in his life, Sasha's clothed in the traditional costume which had been brought from his ethnic homeland. A child's fate is decided according to an old Korean custom. Now that the choice is made, Sasha's to become a wealthy and skilled man. So tells the sign. Over 60 years ago, Grandfather Ponsol likewise guessed his predestination on the earth. The forecast came absolutely true. This man's hands are really made of gold. He's good at any job he does. Anna's quite a match for her husband. Their children, too, were taught to respect any work. Perhaps this is why the Khan's family is fairly well off. Almost everything they have is made with their own hands. Any person living in constant concern and hard work would succeed after all. Any Korean family, no matter in what part of the world it is living, keeps the incomparable lifestyle of their own, based on age-old traditions and customs. Ponsol and Anna shared in full the fate of their long-suffering people. In 1937, on an absurd charge, the Koreans were reported from the Primorsky area. About 200,000 of them were evicted from the far eastern areas where they had been living for years. They were taken in a goods van with the cool September winds blowing inside. All their possessions were a few bundles of clothes and utensils they had collected in a desperate rush. Until 1955, the Koreans were forbidden to leave their settlements in the steppes of Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan. After the Dragon's Law was abolished, the families in search of better life moved to other places, including Tajikistan. Ponsol Khan shared this bitter fate with his brothers. He has lived nearly 30 years in the lands of Tajikistan, which has become native to him. His grandchildren were born here. I know everything about farming. I can grow rice, cotton, vegetables, onions, everything. How did you learn farming? I couldn't learn in those days. As a boy, I was on the farm working. work. That's what they can do perfectly. They have no equal in growing onions, rice, melons or beans. The harvests they achieve are so rich that apart from meeting the demands for rice and onions in Tajikistan, they can trade advantageously with foreign countries. Long before the modern forms of economic activity were introduced, such as leaseholding, family and team contracts, or shareholding, they had been in use among the Koreans. For everywhere they live, quite a different culture of farming comes into being. They don't have to change anything in their work style. All they need is land to work on peaceably. Speaking is Viktor Mikhailovich Kim, first Vice President of the Tajikistan Association of Soviet Koreans. The Koreans of Tajikistan. There are not many of them living in this country. 13,000 all in all. Not as many as in the neighboring republics, Uzbekistan or Kazakhstan, where the great bulk of the Koreans are living. About 200,000 in Uzbekistan and 100,000 in Kazakhstan. But there is a number of problems confronting most of us. One of them deals with our nation's degeneration. This is quite a recent problem. If we recall the good old times under communism, of which the foreign countries would be and now are being so much scared, we lived then a quiet and peaceful life with no question of our nation at all. But nowadays, that the issue of spiritual culture being revived is spoken about so much in this country, it came to concern also the Koreans living outside their ethnic homeland. We are really worried about it, because by losing our language, customs, traditions, we would lose our face as a nation and can't survive as normal and full-fledged people.
Потому что, теряя язык, обычаи, традиции, историю своего народа, мы теряем свое лицо как нация. А без исторических корней мы не можем состояться как нормальные, полноценные люди.
That's how their forefathers used to live and work. They would pass all the farming season in a hut. But even here, women somehow manage to make life comfortable, keeping their homes clean and tidy. Everyone is busy with his work from morning till night. They cannot do otherwise, for the yield of the farming season would feed their families throughout the year to come. We have set up the Tajikistan Association of Soviet Koreans, the most important goal of which is the revival of our language, spiritual culture. But unfortunately, there are some problems we are unable to solve for ourselves. One of them is a lack of textbooks for studying the Korean language, the absence of experts. Today, very few of us are able to read and write our native language. Less than a half can speak it.
Люди, которые умеют читать, писать на родном языке, буквально их у нас в республике единицы. А разговорной речью владеет меньше половины населения.
Скажи, а ты знаешь свой язык?
Do you know your language? Yes, I do. Do you know it well? Do you speak it at home? Quite a bit. Does your mother speak Korean well? Yes. Do you know where your grandma and grandpa came from? No, I don't. I'm Alyosha Kim. My grandmother came from Vladivostok. My mother comes from Tashkent and father from Dushanbe. Do you know your mother tongue? Yes, I do a little. Do you mean to say you know around 10, 20, 30 words or so? Yes, like that. A Korean school is going to open soon in Tajikistan. Experienced teachers are expected to come here, for the need of knowledge is great, and the process of spiritual revival has begun. The missionary church Sonmin is very helpful in this respect. The Taekwondo master from Seoul is teaching the young people the old principles of achieving the health of the soul and the body. The service is conducted in 3 languages: Korean, Russian, and English. Pastor Choi is praying that peace be brought and the fratricidal bloodshed in Tajikistan ceased. He calls for help be given to the refugees from regions struck with the war. The parishioners donate money and warm clothes for the miserable homeless people. The humanitarian aid coming from the Republic of Korea is distributed among the poor and sick. Thus, the young are learning not only the art of Taekwondo and singing, but are being taught to love mankind and do good. What other trials does fate hold for them? The Lee's family has experienced not a few bitter moments in their life. Today, like in 1937, they have to leave their home again. The disintegration of the Soviet Union has resulted in political controversies. The Tajiks took up arms. The war hits everyone, irrespective of nationality. Peace has abandoned the land of the Tajiks. I was eager to study, but couldn't afford it. I had a family to care about. My father was rather old. That's why I had to work on the farm planting onions. Why are you leaving? Because all my children are over there. We all come from there. It's not for nothing they call Far East the Koreans' homeland. Today, many people are moving to other, more secure places. I was born and raised in Dushanbe. I have a lot of friends and relatives here. Because of the situation, I have to leave. Of course, I feel very sorry about that. Our relatives have already gone. My younger sister has left for Uzbekistan. There are people who are staying here in some hope. As for me, I am living for the sake of my child. That's what worries me most of all. hope dies last. What keeps it alive? The contacts with the Republic of Korea are being improved and strengthened. The historical homeland is much concerned about the life of its countrymen. The visitors to this country needn't be convinced that the local Koreans are reliable partners. For this, they have only to look at the way the Korean community lives and works. There are bright prospects for setting up joint ventures, signing mutually beneficial contracts. Tajikistan has become home for more than a generation of Koreans, hard-working and talented people. Among them is Choson Khan, Doctor of Medicine. I have lived for 30 years in Tajikistan. That is a good half of my life. I've passed from a rank-and-file doctor to a professor. Do you feel sorry about leaving this place? Of course I do. Here is my second homeland. But what we need most is political stability. Everyone in Tajikistan, regardless of nationality, thinks about it. The thin thread connecting generations must not be severed. It is embodied in photographs from a family album, in an invaluable experience and skills of previous generations, in the continuity of traditions and customs, in a half-forgotten old song, in prospects for the harvest, as well as in the first smile of a child taking his first steps on this earth. Script by Galina Elbaum, directed by Maram Yusupova, camera by Zakriya Israilov, sound by Elizaveta Khodjaeva, unit manager Faizuddin Juraev. Special thanks to firm's presidents, Mr. Lee, Hon, Tsoi, Nam, Kim, Tan, and other Koreans living in Tajikistan.